Baroness Helen Newlove, the victim's commissioner for England and Wales, has passed away at the age of 63 following a short illness, leaving a profound void in the world of public service and victim advocacy. Her office confirmed the news, paying tribute to a life marked by courage, resilience, and unwavering dedication to those whose voices are often unheard. Baroness Newlove's journey into public service was born out of unimaginable personal tragedy, a transformation from grief into a life devoted to justice, reform, and compassion. Before she became a nationally recognized advocate, Helen Newlove lived a life that was, in many ways, ordinary yet filled with love, family, and community. She was married to Gary Newlove, a devoted husband and father, whose life was tragically cut short in August 2007. On that day, in Warrington, Cheshire, Gary confronted a gang of youths who had vandalized the family car outside their home. The confrontation ended in a brutal and shocking act of violence. The court later heard that Gary was kicked repeatedly, like a football, in front of his daughters, leaving an indelible mark on Helen and her family. The senselessness of the act could have consumed her with bitterness and despair, but instead, she chose a path that would forever change her life and the lives of countless others. Helen's response to her personal tragedy was remarkable, not only for its courage, but for its clarity of purpose. She became a determined campaigner and activist, advocating for victims of crime with a voice that was informed not by politics or ambition, but by lived experience. In 2010, just a few years after her husband's death, she was made a life peer, a recognition of her relentless work in addressing youth crime and her efforts to reform the criminal justice system to be more compassionate and effective for victims. Her appointment was not merely honorary, it was a call to action, which she embraced fully, using her platform to champion the rights of those who had suffered similarly, or even worse. As the Victims' Commissioner for England and Wales, a role she held twice, first from 2012 to 2019, and then again from 2023 until her untimely death, Baroness Newlove reshaped the position into a respected and transformative office. Her approach was defined by empathy, pragmatism, and an unwavering commitment to ensuring that victims were treated with decency, respect, and fairness at every stage of the criminal justice process. She worked tirelessly to strengthen the Victims' Code, advocating for victims' rights, and ensuring that their voices were heard in courts, government agencies, and public discourse. Her leadership helped to embed victims' perspectives into legislation and policy, influencing the development of the Victims and Prisoners Act, ensuring that victims' interests were at its very heart. Colleagues and political figures from across the spectrum have spoken of her influence, dedication, and character. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy described her as having unparalleled experience and dedication, and called her an extraordinary public servant, noting the profound effect she had on the justice system through her work. Liberal Democrat peer Baroness Barker praised her unwavering commitment to defending victims regardless of which political party held power, highlighting her independence and integrity. Conservative frontbencher Lord Kemal remembered her as a fierce campaigner, while independent crossbencher Baroness O'Lone described her as a very lovely person, brave and effective in everything she undertook. Her impact, they said, went far beyond formal achievements. She was a figure whose presence reassured and whose advocacy brought hope to those who had been silenced or marginalized. The compassion that defined her work was rooted deeply in her personal experience. Losing Gary in such a violent, shocking manner gave her a perspective that was both raw and powerful. It instilled in her a sense of urgency, a drive to ensure that other victims would not have to endure the same loneliness or invisibility that often followed tragedy. She consistently led by example, demonstrating that leadership in public service was not only about policy, but also about heart, courage, and integrity. Her office emphasized that she reshaped the office into a trusted voice and genuine force for victims, reflecting the breadth of her influence and the depth of her dedication. Her husband's death was a catalyst for profound societal reflection and legislative action. The attack on Gary Newlove shocked the nation, highlighting the vulnerability of ordinary citizens to violent youth crime and prompting an outpouring of public concern. Helen Newlove channeled that collective grief and anger into constructive advocacy, transforming personal tragedy into public purpose. Her campaigns focused not only on justice for individual victims, but also on preventive measures, youth engagement programs, and reforms in policing and sentencing, ensuring that the criminal justice system addressed root causes as well as outcomes. Her work transcended politics. It was driven by a moral imperative to make society safer and more compassionate. Helen Newlove's tenure as Victims Commissioner was characterized by tangible achievements, as well as subtle, enduring influence. She ensured that victims' experiences were incorporated into the development of policy, that agencies were held accountable for failures, and that support services were accessible and meaningful. Under her guidance, the Commissioner's office became more than a symbolic position. It became a respected, actionable voice advocating for change at every level of governance. Her colleagues frequently remarked on her clarity of purpose and her insistence that compassion must accompany legal and procedural reforms. Her advocacy was not performative. It was grounded in empathy and lived experience, which lent her authority and authenticity that resonated with politicians, civil servants, and the public alike. Beyond her professional achievements, Baroness Newlove was remembered for her personal qualities: warmth, courage, and unwavering moral conviction. She had a remarkable ability to connect with people from all walks of life, whether they were victims seeking guidance, policymakers grappling with complex issues, or members of the public seeking reassurance and understanding. Her humanity was inseparable from her professional identity. She understood that policy mattered, but people mattered even more. Her colleagues spoke of her consistently leading by example, holding herself to the same high standards she expected from others, demonstrating that effective leadership was rooted in integrity, empathy, and action. The outpouring of tribute following her passing has underscored the breadth and depth of her impact. Members of the House of Lords, politicians, advocacy groups, and ordinary citizens have expressed grief at her loss while celebrating her enduring legacy. She has been described as so brave and effective in all that she did, a person whose work saved lives, shaped laws, and gave voice to the voiceless. Her commitment to victims' rights was unflinching and tireless, demonstrating that even in the face of personal tragedy, one can dedicate a life to justice, empathy, and societal betterment. Helen Newlove's story is also a testament to resilience. The trauma she endured could have led to withdrawal, anger, or despair. Instead, she transformed her grief into action, proving that personal suffering can be a powerful catalyst for societal change. Her ability to translate the loss of her husband into meaningful reform reflects a rare combination of personal strength and civic vision. She understood intimately the consequences of violence and neglect in the criminal justice system, and she sought to ensure that no victim would feel ignored or abandoned. Through her work, countless individuals have received recognition, support, and advocacy that would have otherwise been unavailable, highlighting the enduring human impact of her career.